Woo! That's the sound I make when my tripod does something weird. Morning, y'all. Rose Candela here. I'm in my studio. I got my stuffed animals. I've got a lot of junk over there, but I'm committed to coming to you with what's real, which is what's going on in my life, in my studio, and I'm seeing some people popping on, so I'm just gonna wait just a second. So yeah, I was like, I'm gonna clean up the floor so it's not messy, but then that's not really what's happening in my life. And one of the reasons why I do these studio diaries is to show you what it's like to be working and living and being a mother and myself as a creator. So today I want to talk about materials that I love, and I'm going to get to that in a second. I'm really happy to be here with you, whether you're catching this live or you're catching this later. We had a holiday week last week, so I didn't come on. And Wednesday is usually when I come on live, but I have a client session, one of my last making and mentoring sessions of the year. And those have been amazing for the fall. I've opened up spots for January, February, and March. If you're interested in making art together and processing life, processing your creative process, processing what's going on for you emotionally. A lot of my clients, the theme this fall has been about like not feeling authority over their creative energy and power and desires. So it's been interesting to kind of see that thread throughout the clients that I've had, where it's like, I know I'm creative, I know I want to paint, I know I want to play, I want to do this with my children, but I don't feel like I'm allowed to because of some past experiences of being shut down, right? Which is honestly very universal and usually comes from a teacher later in life, not necessarily when you're a child, but like if you go to college for art or any of the arts, often what happens is a teacher will be brutal. And my opinion about that is because they're having pain inside of themselves about their process. What I really wish that art schools taught was it's gonna be okay if you're in a creative slump. It's gonna be okay if you doubt yourself. It's gonna be okay if you don't know what your next steps are on the path of your creative journey. So many art schools teach this like linear masculine way of doing things, which, continue building on this, like, you can do more, you can do more, you can create more. And yes, you need to know like how to render an image, how to render what you're seeing, how to, use your materials, but there's a lot lacking out there, or at least there was 10, 15 years ago when I was in college, so maybe it's changed. Doubt it. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about materials. I hope it would have changed. Today I'm going to be talking about materials, and there's like a major windstorm happening outside the window. The video is probably picking that up, but I'm going to talk about 3 materials. I actually have a ton of materials that I love, but I'm going to talk about 3 materials that I really love for this studio diary and show you how I use them. And the reason why I think it's really important for you as an artist, as a creator, as a person who produces something for the world to take in, to have your niche, what you want to share, what you like to use, because then you'll be able to create a body of work that looks similar, and also people will outside of using that to create more of a relationship with your audience, you will also have some authority over the mediums that you're using and the materials that you're using. As well, it helps you with decision fatigue, right? So much of us deal with like all the choices. I'm actually reading a book. I'm gonna grab it. The Paradox of Choice. Why More is Less by Barry Schwartz. Hi, Asha. And this book talks about how choice in our culture is really bogging us down, right? Like you go to the grocery store and there's 50 types of crackers, even within the genre of what you want to buy. So it's becoming increasingly hard to be human. And one of the, I mean, hello, I think we're all kind of feeling that. And one of the things that I feel like as an artist is just saying, okay, I have these 5 things that I'm going to work with right now. Yes, there's huge catalogs of all the other stuff and all these types of colors. I actually was cleaning up my studio a little bit before this and came across this catalog that had like 50 different colors of a Neo Cardash crayons, and I was like, ooh, but I have about 20. I think I'm good. So that's why I'm bringing to you 3 things that I love to use, and you can create a full painting with these items. So if you're a student of mine, you'll notice these because you've gotten these delivered in the mail to you. But one of them is a watercolor palette, and it doesn't have to be this brand. This brand is oh, I don't really know the brand. It says Côte Nord. Which one of my one of you today on a post said, I think those are made in the Czech Republic, and they are. I looked right on the back and I was like, yes, they are. So you recognized it. These are watercolor wheels, and I have a few here. They come in a stack when you buy them. I think there's a 4th one somewhere, right? So you get them like this. So they're transportable. And the reason I love these is because you can just pick one palette to use, and that's your palette for your painting. There's a green one around. Oh, here it is. Mine are really well used. And so watercolors there's a whole range, of course, of types of watercolors. Asha says it's 11:11. Oh, yay. It is 11:11. I think my watch, I don't know. Battery's dead there. No surprise. Thanks for letting me know. I can't see the time on this. So, watercolors. There comes all sorts of grades. There you can buy them in a tube and then use a palette to add water. I like these because they're simple. There's nothing wrong with simple. They can also be called student grade. There are grades of like quality, right? But these work great. And there's nothing wrong with student. You don't have to be professional grade, which honestly, I feel like sometimes just means you spend more money in thinking that you're using nicer materials. Sometimes they are nicer, and sometimes the colors are richer or whatever. So watercolor palette. And one of my other favorites is the Neo Cardash water-soluble crayons. So these were actually the ones that I saw a catalog before I came on live, and I was like, ooh, 50 different colors. But you can have 1 or 2, and it's plenty. So I'll show you how these work on the paper in a moment. And my last favorite thing, which if you're familiar with my work, you'll know, is a micron pen to add in detail around the watercolors. So my style right now is really actually something that like has been my style for years, which is water, ink, color, and detail. But right now it's kind of a quicker thing because I'm a mama of a 3-year-old, and while I have time to work in my studio, I don't have a ton of time. And it's important. One of the questions I get from my audience, from you, a lot is a reoccurring question is like, how do you create work with a short amount of time? And this is one of the ways, is that you have your materials out. Simple, right? And of course you'll need a brush too. I use these brushes that have capacity to hold water in them, so you can just squeeze as you're using watercolor, but I honestly just dip them in water too. But yeah, so having some materials out and ready to go. So you have 10 minutes. Your child's occupied doing something, or you only have 10 minutes to yourself each day while your partner helps out, or while your child's at school and you're in between all the things you need to do. So this is going to be really important for you to have some stuff laid out. Like that's my best tip. I can't really hack time. I'm not really into that whole culture. I think that we have the time we have. It's relative, sure, to everybody because we have our own experiences in our own life and our own levels of privilege to like buy time, right? Buy time for ourselves. But here we are. If you have some materials out, if you're a writer, having your journal and paper ready. I'm a big fan now of just having one journal for everything. I used to have a sketchbook. I used to have a calendar. I used to have a journal. And I never would mix any of the like elements together. But now I use a technique that's similar to bullet journaling, not quite, but I lay out my schedule in there. I lay out my lists, my shopping lists, grocery lists, and I also write when I have something to process in there. And I use watercolors in it. So that might be a tip. But today I'm going to flip the camera so it's like you're looking down on the other side of my table. And I'm going to show you how I use some of these materials to make art pretty quickly. I wonder if I should set a timer. That's like a big practice of mine. Well, I'll just keep time. It'll be about 5 minutes of making stuff. And y'all, my desk is messy. Let's see. I'm just checking. Can you see that? You can. Yes. So again, I'm committed to coming to you with not with a polished anything. So for right now, I am going to use this palette that has some reds, oranges, and a little bit of a sandy color. And just my really big brush here so I can make some bold steps, bold moves. And this brush has blue on it, so it looks a little green right now. I'm gonna go with some magenta. So one of the things about painting and beginning is like the intimidation of starting, right? I get that a lot as an inquiry as well as feel it in my heart on the regular. Because it's like, oh, what if it turns out not how I want? What if something goes, wrong? What if I'm just doing it and I don't know what I'm doing? What if I feel like I don't have authority over it or I don't like it, right? Like sometimes you'll make stuff and you're like, I don't really like this. This isn't what I wanted. And that's all normal. That's all actually like part of it. And I think that one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten, which you may have seen me write about before, or if you're a student of mine, I've told you about this, is that I learned printmaking at some point. And one of my teachers told me that how she got over intimidation was like making a lot of marks on the plate so printmaking, if you're not familiar, it's you use one plate and it's like your piece, right? So if you make a mistake on it, you have to figure out how to work around it. And there's a lot of precision in it, but like she just used a really light tool to just start like doing this on the plate so that she just got over it. Got over this whole like, oh, I don't know if I make the line this way instead of this way, how's it gonna turn out? Is it gonna look how I want, or it might not be the right line? And like really working with mistakes that way, I think art can be such a huge gift to us when we look at it that way, look at it as a method to understanding our mistakes. Or just being okay with mistakes. Like sometimes things don't have to have a bigger vision. Sometimes things can just be kind of crappy and then you're just like, okay, let's go onward from here, right? So I hope this is translating. I'm making a lot of color on here. And so part of the process of like painting and getting over intimidation is waiting for stuff to dry. So you're going to see some of the first layer of this piece. I'm going to use the water soluble crayon now, and you'll see that as it goes over some of what I've already laid out here, it will blend in. But then once I'm done with this, I'm gonna go downstairs and have lunch and then wait for stuff to dry. Because then I can do more. Sometimes when you work over wet paint, wet watercolor on your paper, you mess up your material. Like if I was to use my micron pen on top of this watercolor, it wouldn't do anything. It would actually damage the pen, I think. If that makes sense. So what's coming forth here? I don't know. That's one of the one of my methods. One of my intuitive painting methods is like just letting things go. And I'll probably add something more identifiable later. So the water soluble crayon, and then you can add water to it, and it'll move that color around, right? Push it around, so to speak. Okay, and now since my paper has so much water on it, I'm just gonna use my micron pen in really, really specific spots. That I know that won't damage the tip of the pen. So this is the part of my work that I love to do, and I don't have as much time to do. I'm in a place right now, if you've been watching some of my studio diaries, of like really transforming how I approach business, who I listen to, how I digest information about what the right way to do business is. Because y'all, I don't know if you've realized, but there are a ton of opinions, and sometimes it feels like there's no inner voice there for me. But I know this is true for other really talented, bright women that I talk to who are also business owners and are looking for a new way. So the point of all this is to fill you in on where I am and how I'm processing things, especially after the holiday. And there's so much consumerism and so much to really evaluate, in my opinion, but also be part of, right? Like we can't just completely forget the world because we're trying to change it. Gotta be part of it. Okay, loves. That is it for today because I feel the need to let my piece dry, and I think that everyone's already hopped off that we're live. But this will come on. If you're watching this and you're like, oh, I missed part of it, then this will be sent out to my newsletter. I don't do a ton of selling in my newsletter right now. So if you want to be on my newsletter, I will occasionally let you know what I'm doing. And I weekly give you inspiration on living a creative life. Okay, loves, have a beautiful day, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for joining.